And welcome to the SpartanMag.com VCast. Jim Comparoni, Paul Konyndyk, Alumni Stadium, Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. I think it's part of Boston. I'm not really sure, but it's been raining here all night. And Michigan State, kind of a dreary ending to this game. And everybody saw what happened when Michigan State loses by 4 points. In great position to win. Everybody knows why they lost. Turnovers, red zone failures. That pretty much does it. Coming into this game, Michigan State had trouble with turnovers all season and got away with it, 3 turnovers to 1 at Maryland. Knew they couldn't do it again here this time against a team that's a little better than Maryland. And Boston College did not let Michigan State off the hook. Michigan State makes a mistake on a deep touchdown late. And, of course, the interception on a 1st and 10, 36-yard line, 46 seconds to go.
And 2 timeouts.
2 timeouts left. An overly ambitious decision there. And, Michigan State dealing with it. Had a chance to go 4-0 to beat a quality team on the road and played a lot of good football on defense to get that done. Had some other moments on offense enough to get it done, but they go home with a missed opportunity and a loss in a season with a lot more losses to come, and that's what makes this one so expensive. To be 4-0 with that cushion going into the teeth of the schedule would have been so nice for this season and this team. Didn't happen, and really a tough one for Michigan State to accept right now.
The disappointing thing for Michigan State, I think, is you're up 7 going into halftime. You should have been up more than that, I believe, because the defense was playing really good. They forced punts on back-to-back possessions. Boston College, they figured out how to stop the run. They did some nice things to cage in Castellanos, and then coming out of halftime, you had the fumble kickoff return. Michigan State defense was pretty amazing there, holding those guys out of the end zone. But then you also had you had interception right after that, and it's kind of like a frustrating type of thing because typically when we talk about these kind of games and missed opportunities, you talk about all the missed throws that Aiden Childs had to Montorie Foster that should have been huge plays, should have been touchdowns, even on some of those field goal drives. But in this game, which ends up being a one-possession game, it comes down to foolish, foolhardy mistakes, and it wasn't. That's where Aiden Childs has got to grow. He's going to have some inconsistent passes. He's going to have some incomplete passes. He's going to make some maybe calls at the line of scrimmage that are, rookie mistakes. He's also going to do some really good things. But one of the things that he can't do is he can't hurt his team when he has. You can't hurt your team when you don't need to hurt your team. A lot of the interceptions are these kind of scramble, throw the ball up,
There's one he got away with. It wasn't an interception.
Yeah, but they're those things those things at the end of NFL games where there's 2 seconds left and you're at the 30-yard line and you've got to make a play, or the clock is going to run out. But he's making those kind of up for grabs, jump ball type throws when there's no reason to make them, and that's it should be entirely correctable. And moving forward, that's I think where he has to. That's the easiest area to show growth, and it's just like one of those things like in baseball, where you've got a 3-0 count, you're looking for one thing, and if you don't get it, you're not going to swing at something, hit a ground ball, and do a double play. You know what I'm saying? It's like a mindset that you have to have.
He throws for 241 yards, 17 out of 35, but the 3 interceptions might have had a 4th on some questionable decisions. But that 19 years old, just turned 19. We knew coming into the season he has a lot of talent, and nobody wants it more than he does. And like Jonathan Smith said, there's a lot on his shoulders, and today he's out there without 4 wide receivers. So, but in terms of open players, there were in terms of open receivers, he had some and didn't cash in. So plays were there to be made. And for the first time, Childs did not speak after the game. I think Michigan State's protecting him a little bit. Velling and Jack Velling and players not being supportive of him. Jonathan Smith said, there's going to be plays that Aiden Childs looks at, glaring ones that he let get away. Everybody knows that. So when does he take that next step? The first game, the jitters and all those things, RPMs and all that, understandable. Since then, it's easy for us to say what the right decisions are, and we know he has the talent. Why didn't the accuracy show itself there? He has all this talent. It needs to get honed into a beautiful winning machine, which he can be and this team can become at some point. But it's not there yet. And like I wrote in the pre-snap read, you can't. I'm not real big on trying to time the market, on like trying to guess when someone is going to click. So chances were that you go with the senior quarterback, or the more experienced quarterback, Castellanos for Boston College. Even though he's been mistake prone in his career, he's further along in his career. And tonight, Castellanos was not great. Michigan State contained him, but he didn't throw any interceptions.
Yeah, and I'm not saying, like, listen, the Montorie Foster, the misses, I expect those because it's a wet night out. It's you know, he's a young quarterback. What I'm saying is they're really basic stuff. It's like checkers. You're in a situation. You've got all these downs. It's first down. You're at the 35. You've got 2 timeouts. You need to know that unless the pass is there, you get rid of the ball. You throw it away. And he has done that in some instances. And
he's got a drive going. He hit Velling 3 straight times.
Right.
And Childs is a guy that at the end of the first half at Maryland, 2-minute drill score. At the end of the game against Maryland, 2-minute drill score. At the end of the first half on this night, 2-minute drill score, field goal. So the guy's been in a 2-minute situation before, comfortable with it, moving down the field, 38-yard line, 1st and 10, 2 timeouts. 2 ramped up again.
Yeah,
he throws into coverage there deep, and
I mean, 2 guys are there. It was a jump ball. You didn't need it. And I'm okay with some of the stuff. I'm not okay with stuff like that because that's completely avoidable. Where you just make in your mind.
Like last week, there was the interception he threw when I said, that's a throw you attempt when it's 4th and ball game. It's a 1st and 10 on your own side of the field. So
we've seen that this year probably about 5 or 6 times where he's trying to make those kind of throws that you don't need to make and you shouldn't make, and those are areas that need to be cleaned up because you just don't do it.
And he has so much talent, more talent than I'll ever have in anything in my life. So we're watching this, and we know that there's something there, right. and what it could have done for this team and this program and for himself. He feels worse about it than anybody. And for it to be that close, and they're driving, and Boston College is on their heels, and that 1st and 10 into the end zone, just a decision that Smith was frustrated. He didn't come out and say it in those type of words, but you're riding on that guy, and the quarterback's the most important position in sports, and it's there to be made in just mistakes.
Yeah, but we wouldn't be making excuses for him if he was a freshman defensive back. You know what I'm saying? And he kept on doing stupid stuff like in a situation trying to go for an interception when you didn't need to, or something like that. So it's like I think that's a really correctable thing. I mean, it has to be a mindset of you have to know when you're going to be aggressive. And that's not just being aggressive. That's being and it's Hail Mary aggressive.
And I think it's good to be that and scale it back. The opening night, he checked to some plays and went deep too much, and they tried to scale that back. No, we don't need to go deep on some of those. Those 3rd and shorts don't need to go deep. You'd rather have somebody that you want to scale back from there rather than somebody you have to push to take a chance. So you learn as you go. He's got 32 more starts left or whatever it is, the Michigan State career most likely. But, gosh, this was a great opportunity, Paul.
And I think the other thing, too, with him is I think that you can help him out by getting better in the run game. You want to look at Castellanos, he had a good run game. Michigan State did a great job on defense, but this Boston College offensive line, the Boston College tight ends, those guys do block well, and those running backs are good, and they got off some pretty good plays. And it's hard to tackle. It's out there tonight, but it was physical. This is the most physical offensive line that Michigan State players have seen. The defenders, and they actually got blocked tonight, and it was hard to get off blocks. And Bill O'Brien said afterwards on the ACC network that he sees some NFL guys on his offensive line and at tight end, and he said they took steps towards realizing those NFL dreams tonight. So this is a big deal. They were playing a really good Michigan State defense, and but making better decisions is a big deal for this team overall. You don't need the stupid penalties. We saw fewer of the 15-yarders tonight for Michigan State, and I think they took steps in that direction.
I think there was just one, and Bogle tackled out of bounds. It was borderline.
That was iffy, and I'm not sure.
Rolling tackle out of bounds.
And I'm not sure I buy that. But the other questionable decision is K'Ron Lynch-Adams at the getting the ball out of the second half. Decided to take that out for no apparent reason.
Kickoff
return ends up being a fumble. That's an avoidable, situation. Michigan State needs to do better at avoiding things that are pretty easy. Those are simple. These are things that you shouldn't be. None of these guys should be making those kind of mistakes.
Yeah, it's hindsight's 20/20, but it's a rainy night. He has not had a kickoff return in his Michigan State career.
But he knows that it's rainy. It was rainy in the pregame.
The chances of him returning it past the 25
when he came in for
probably not very good. You can fair catch these days. Easy for us to say.
No, it's
but these
not.
are the plays.
It's easy for us to say, but it's easy for them to say. Like when they're in the film room, it's a no-brainer, and he knows that he did something wrong. But here's the thing: those are things that have to be cleaned up, and they must be cleaned up going into the teeth of the schedule. You do that against Boston College. That's a good Boston College team, but now you got Ohio State coming up. Then you got Oregon. You've got teams that are absolutely going to just destroy you if you play stupid football. Yeah. And and these are all good kids trying to make plays. But for them to be the best version of themselves that they can be this year, they got to avoid doing stupid. And tonight there was too many stupid errors.
I don't like the word stupid. I'm going to say overly ambitious.
No, I'm not. It's not overly ambitious. These are catastrophic mistakes where there's no reason to make them, and that I would say is stupid. Okay, I don't care. Overly ambitious. Overly ambitious is like putting
overly aggressive.
Is placing too many poker chips or on 00 in a casino or something like that. These are the kind of mistakes that they're just avoidable and they hurt your team.
And they've been making them all year, and they knew at some point it was going to cost them a win.
And they've been talking about it every single week. You cannot do this and hope to win against a good team. And tonight it bit them. And I'm not criticizing these guys, but I'm just saying these are things that can be avoided, need to be avoided, and must be avoided moving forward. And they didn't take enough steps to do that tonight, and they lost the game to a large degree because of it.
And all those things, a good Boston College team with an explosive quarterback and a good running attack and that offensive line you're talking about. Michigan State held them to 292 yards of offense.
Yeah.
And the way, Boston College really had that run game going midway through the first half, and Michigan State just kind of weathered that storm and kept it bottled up for the most of the night. Michigan State with 2 defensive errors. That 36-yard touchdown that got out right after that interception on that slant interception, next play, whatever it was, 36 yards down that left sideline. Michigan State, it looked like to me at the point of attack, did a pretty good job being firm against the blockers. And I looked at it twice. I need to look at it a few more times. But Halliday and Malik Spencer collided with one another. They were there to make the tackle on the ball. And just a weird Keystone Cops type of thing. They collide with one another. They go down. Running back gets free down the sideline. The way that running back ran with patience, and then all of a sudden he was still alive, it looked weird because normally in the sport of American tackle football, that play doesn't get out. It's like, what happened there? You look at it, there was a collision there. Why there was a collision there, I'm not sure. And then the game-winning touchdown when Angelo Gross fell. Michigan State was on their heels a little bit. Malik Spencer had gone in and out, and his ankle was bothering him. The play that got the drive going, I don't know if there's a little bust or what, but there's an Angelo Gross's area. Angelo Gross is playing nickel. I'm not sure why he's in there instead of Angelo Gross. Did I say Angelo? Avion Gross is on the field instead of Angelo Gross. And it's not Darius Snow's type of play anyway. He's more of a run outside linebacker. But Gross is the third guy, and he's in there. A little mistake, and they make a play. They take him out. They put Angelo back in there. But then Spencer has to go out because his ankle's hurt. Then they put Avion back in there. So why was Avion on there? Not really sure. But that was a little mistake in that drive. And then Angelo falls down, and it's a touchdown there at the end. A very good night of defense for Michigan State overall, including Cal Halliday with that hit, and Malik Spencer with the hit, and Cal Halliday with the strip, and Wayne Matthews with a fumble recovery in the first half, and then the 4th down stoppage with Jordan Hall making a big stop inside the 5-yard line. So twice Michigan State took points away from them with big defensive stops inside the 5-yard line. Would have been an excellent defensive night, top to bottom, were it not for the one bust at the end. And they're on that thin ice because of the mistakes, just not good enough to win tonight.
Yeah, and I really think that this really was a really good defensive performance because of what that quarterback can do with his feet. And, seeing him in person tonight, I remember watching Barry Sanders in person for the first time, and I'm like, man, this guy is special. I'm not saying that he's Barry Sanders, but I'm saying you can see what someone is special in person. In that first run that he had out here tonight where he scrambled and got free for like 8 or 9 yards, he moves quickly for a quarterback. He's faster than Cam Fancher. He's faster than almost any quarterback I can remember Michigan State playing in recent years. But this kind of was like a D'Antonio era type defensive performance, and the sudden change stuff was really impressive. The goal line thing, that was just, there's a lot of stuff that Michigan State can build on in this. This defense is really resilient, and I think they proved that tonight. You didn't know necessarily against Maryland. You saw it other times where teams have driven on them or they've had penalties and they bounce back. But tonight, against a team that was really physical, I learned a lot about the defense. I think these guys They've got some quality individuals that are playing for each other. And even like Jordan Turner, when Jack Velling was coming off of interviews, Jordan Turner was coming in. I mean, he hugged Jack Velling, and that was like, man, this is a close-knit team. So it was pretty impressive, and I think they can build on it, but there's mistakes by everybody.
Sure. And the first 2 interceptions for Childs, they're both on slants against cover 3. The first one, it looked like, sometimes receivers will lean into a defender knowing that to create more leverage this way for an open airspace. So Velling was leaning into that corner to create more airspace, and he throws it, and maybe Velling stayed leaned into him a little longer than Childs thought, ends up leading him too much for an interception. I didn't get a chance to ask the players about that specifically, but it looked like it was open. Like we said, we've been saying all season, there's guys that are open, and he missed him on that one. The second one, he just missed him thrown behind him.
Yeah, and, Jonathan Smith, he was asked about some of those throws. This is a footwork thing again. Jonathan Smith said on some of
that's on the missed opportunity, the deep shots that he missed.
The overthrows. And, so like.
Montorie Foster keeps getting open.
Man, and I was going to write something like Montorie Foster deserves a medal, or Montorie Foster, it's not fair to him because he should have about 500 yards receiving right now. And I'm not. He keeps on working, and he's running great routes. And it's easy to say, hey, look, at Michigan State was down 4 receivers. That didn't matter tonight, in my opinion. They still had guys getting open. Isaiah Johnson was open. Hey, Jalen Smith was open several times. And, so Michigan State skill guys, even though they were down as far as numbers, they got open against Boston College. I think, Aiden Childs has to be a little bit more accurate. And, it's not easy throwing the football. And another thing that Michigan State needs to do moving forward is they need to continue to get better on the run game. They can't, I don't know what the numbers ended up being in this game, 135, 140 or whatever, and a lot of it was on
127
on scrambles.
3.8 per.
And 3.8, but then they, it's frustrating because they do some really good things running the football. You look at that third and whatever late where Kayron Lynch-Adams picks up 15
third
yards.
Third and 15, he gained about 22.
I told you, that reminds me of the Brian Kelly stuff at Notre Dame when there's like a light box and, he just dials up a run. But that was a great run. Michigan State had several, that fourth down on their side of the field to keep that drive going. That was a good run. Yeah, it only picked up 2 yards, but it was a good
4 yards. Lynch-Adams again spinning through that contact.
Those are all examples of really good running plays. And then amidst these drives where they have several good running plays, then they'll have a major hiccup where there's a 5-yard loss. Those are the things they have to continue to hammer and get better on, because you can't have 5 really good runs in a drive and then just totally not do what you're supposed to do and give up 6 yards or 7 yards.
And the biggest one I said right before halftime, Michigan State, kicks a field goal to go up 13-6 at halftime.
Yeah.
13-6, coulda, shoulda, would have been 17-6. And I said, man, those 4 points. Remember those 4 points, and that was the difference. And the reason that hurt so much, red zone failures for Michigan State tonight, they got down there 2nd and 1 at the 6-yard line in the last minute of the first half, whatever it was. 2nd and 1 at the 6. You're scoring a touchdown. 2nd and 1, and what happens? Nate Carter gets lost for about loss of 3 yards. One of those plays you're talking about. It's like a stretch to the right. Lepo gets beaten inside. I'm not sure if it's miscommunication there. I'm not sure what it was, but that's been happening all season with various across the offensive line. Exactly the type of play you're talking about. 3rd down, they don't pick it up, kick a field goal. It's 13-6 at halftime instead of 17-6. That was a major giveaway there. 2nd and 1 at the 6-yard line going in. If this team wants to, it was there to go 4-0, which would have opened the door to maybe go, 6-6, 7-5 or better. But you're going to lose that win because of missed opportunities like that. And then on that drive when Michigan State picked up the 4th and 1 with Kayron Lynch-Adams coming back from that fumbled kickoff, playing with a lot of vinegar, trying to get it back. You know how he is, and he's fired up. Made that 4th down play, and then came back from an illegal man downfield. I think it was his first. Made it 3rd and 15. Maybe it was a tackle for loss. Can't remember. 3rd and 15, like you said, light box. I said in the pre-snap read that there's things that they do on defense that's just a little bit off kilter. That was one of them. Michigan State with a great call. Brian Kelly called it like you're talking about, gutsy call, and Smith was thinking just get it in there for a field goal. Breaks it loose. That would have been the turning point of the game if Michigan State wins. That 3rd and 5 run. They get down there 3rd down inside the 5-yard line. Back to pass, looking for Foster on a post. He's covered. Scramble. Impromptu. Nate Carter's open. A little impromptu freelance flip to him.
That was on Nate Carter.
And he juggles it and drops it. Finish your football plays. You catch that, you're up. What are you up by at that time? You're up by 7, I guess. Might still be playing in overtime, but catch that one. Fair catch a kickoff. These games always come down to just a few plays and games here and there, or a few plays here and there. A couple of overthrows, that deep one early when Michigan State drives for a field goal. They had Montorie Foster on that deep out, overthrew him at the 6-yard line. Maybe you're going in there, maybe you're not. But the plays are there to be made. Guys are open. That one was a good play by Childs to get it to him, and he didn't finish it for him.
Even the first drive, the field goal drive that they got the ball at midfield. I mean, Montorie Foster was like open downfield, and he missed the throw there.
And Childs, when the offense was stalling a little bit, I have to say this, and Jonathan Smith pointed out, there were times on offense when he was the only thing we had going, to quote Jonathan Smith. Some of his scrambles,
right.
He was doing some more positive things. We know he has scrambling ability. We saw it better than ever tonight. Got loose on, I don't know what down it was, but 30-yard run down the sideline. A few other times, scrambling to keep plays open. He's been a good scrambler, but tonight even more so, even more dangerous player, but couldn't keep the fuse lit.
And the thing that was impressive about the way he ran, a lot of it wasn't just him running full bore. It was him changing speeds, putting his foot in the ground, waiting for a defender to lean one way and then accelerating. And that's something we haven't seen from him, prior to this. So he is making progress. Like when I'm being critical of him, it's like, it's not stuff that can't be fixed. It's stuff that needs to be fixed, and it should be. And I think he'll get. I think he'll get there, but it's not that everyone can make. Everyone needs to be better, but like he has the most. He can make the most progress by doing the simplest things. And one of them is just like in this scenario, I'm not going to do anything unless it's there. Like there's certain type of things. It's like first down. You're not going to go for broke.
What's the saying? To those, much is given, much is expected.
Scared money don't make money.
He's been given much. He's worked on his talent to hone his craft to have great talent. So when you have that kind of talent, much is expected.
Right.
And he wants to be a college quarterback. He's a college quarterback at a big time program with opportunities.
This isn't much expected. Like what we're talking about. This is like a little bit expected. As far as like I expect him to do a lot of do simple better, to use an overwrought Mel Tucker era phrase, but like that's not I'm not expecting him to thread the needle between like cover 2 or something like that. I'm expecting him to decide not to do something dumb.
Well, he's got 1st and 10 at the 38-yard line. How did he get there? Because he made 3 real good passes.
Yeah, but they were like easy.
To who?
To Jack Velling in the middle.
Do you think Caton Hauser completes those?
No, and I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that, and I don't. And Caton Hauser didn't have these coaches. The reason Jack Velling is in there is because Jack Velling runs really damn good routes, and those calls are set up by an offensive coordinator that knows what he's doing. He's giving Aiden Childs, makeable plays within his skill set. So why go outside your skill set?
I get it.
To do something you shouldn't do.
But it's his talent that got him there. It's not like there's a bunch of runs that got him there. He had those passes. So he sets himself up with an opportunity, then overzealous on the deep one. But, that 2-minute drill was looking good, hitting Velling, and he's out there, with, down a few guys at the wide receiver position. Velling leads Michigan State with 6 receptions tonight. Montorie Foster with 4. Isaiah Johnson with 3. No other wide receiver had a reception. We saw Yannichik out there a little bit, Jalen Smith out there. Everybody knows Alante Brown's out for the year. Nick Marsh couldn't play tonight. Jerron Glover's the 2nd week that he's been out, became injured in the Maryland game. And Antonio Gates, we learned at game time, was injured. Didn't know anything about that.
And none of those guys are long-term, according to Jonathan Smith.
Well, Alante Brown is, but
obviously, but none of the new guys. And Isaiah Johnson's got a lot of ability. We saw that, we saw the first game of the year. He had a 22-yard catch. We were like, hey, who's this guy? He's coming on strong, and he was ahead of Antonio Gates in the rotation going into the season. And you saw it today again, where like he had a catch through contact, and he was hard to bring down for a guy that's 170 pounds. That's kind of surprising, but he took another step this week. I thought Jalen Smith ran some good routes, and I thought he was open on several plays. Now, Aiden Childs doesn't have great chemistry with him because he's not, he hasn't been working with him very much, but. It's always frustrating when you lose a game that you probably should win or you could have won, and there's just so many different ways that Michigan State could have won this game. Now, Maryland was saying the same thing probably when they lost to Michigan State a couple weeks ago, but it's tough because you want to be bowl eligible in Jonathan Smith's first year, and I'm not saying they can't be, but 4-0 would have been a huge step in that right direction, and it would have set you up better for the gauntlet where there are going to be some tough losses. There's no doubt about that. I mean, they're not going to win against Ohio State. They're, playing another night game, going out to Oregon on a Friday night after, playing against Ohio State. That's not going to be easy. I don't see them winning there. And you can keep on going through.
Do they play Michigan after Oregon or Iowa?
I can't remember.
Whichever. But
they've got a bye week, right?
I don't know, but yeah, after
But
Oregon,
I'm just saying,
they've got a bye week.
you got a lot of tough games ahead, and
chances are they're 3-3, in a couple of weeks after Ohio State and Oregon. That's what Vegas looks like. So could have been 4-2, coulda, woulda, shoulda. So that's why this one hurts, because they got some tough games coming up. And Boston College is good. This is a pretty good atmosphere. You always hear about how football's not big out here, but you get here and there's a lot of rain. They had, over 40,000, and they were active. They were into it. And there's Boston College has some fans. They've got a fan base, Paul.
They've got a fan base this year. I'm telling you, in the last couple of years, they haven't had a lot to cheer about, just like Michigan State hasn't had a lot to cheer about. And these fans were excited. Rushed the field afterwards. That was kind of different. But you can tell how excited they are about Boston College football based on their reaction to this win. This is a great game, too, the Red Bandana game. It's a great tradition. It was an awesome environment tonight, and kudos to everyone for staying throughout the whole thing.
They had a good sound system here, too.
Yeah, they do. But this was a lot of fun. It was, it was a competitive game. It was a
good college football.
A lot of punching and counter-punching and guys that really cared. And Michigan State is a football team that is a high-character football team. I mean, that's why one of my takeaways from this game. But they have to keep on working on getting better with the run game and eliminating some fixable mistakes.
The other interception with Childs that I forgot about was the one where the guy had it in his hands and the other guy knocked it out of his hands. He was in the process of dropping it anyway, and they had two defenders could have intercepted it. And one guy
knocked each other out.
He was in the process of dropping it anyway, but got away with that one, or it could have been more.
Yeah, you're talking about Cal Halliday and was it Malik Spencer running into each other? I think that's the downside of like the whole philosophy of rallying to the football. Where they were.
If you leverage it right, I mean.
And that's probably what some of it had to do with is wrong leverage, and I think you're probably right on that. But the positive of that is far outweighs the negative. Michigan State did another good job of rallying to the football. I think Michigan State's defense played good. I think Michigan State's offense did some really good things. They're just a little bit away.
And the defense showed me something tonight. Boston College rushes for 152, which is, I thought keeping them under 130 would put Michigan State at over a 50% chance to win. They got the one broke out for 36 yards for the touchdown. They got hot midway through the first half. Then Michigan State buckled down on the run defense. And I wanted to see how Michigan State would play run defense against a legitimately good running attack. The running backs are okay, but their offensive line is very good. The quarterback is very good with the run game. So we learned more about the defense. The defense is, in fact, pretty good. I think it's like a top 30 defense. I don't know where it is statistically, but I'm comfortable in saying this is like a top 30 national defense, top 35, maybe better than 35, maybe 30, because of what they did to stand up against the run, against a good offense. And if you're going to be a consistent team, a consistent program, you cannot harness consistency unless your defense is consistent. Now, Ohio State's going to come in and score 40, and Oregon's probably going to have a nice day also, but Michigan State, with the defense they have now, provided they don't have any more injuries and so forth, the defense is going to show up every week, and that's what gives you a chance to really be consistent. Now, turnovers and Aiden Childs needs to come along, but it's really nice having a defense that is not a Hazleton defense or a Chris Whelan defense. You're not going to have those ups and downs all over the place. That's consistency, and it's going to be. We saw it inside the 10 today a few times. That part is good.
Yeah, Jordan Turner mentioned this afterwards, but he felt like after Boston College got through their 25 scripted plays, Michigan State made the adjustments they needed to, and it shut them down. It showed in the fact that Boston College punted twice before halftime. Boston College had 97 rushing yards at halftime, I believe it was. So, you look at it, and Michigan State did a nice job, with the run game after the half and in the sudden change type scenarios. And I think they did a really nice job with the quarterback run game because, he gets out. So not only were they able to stop the stuff inside, but when the quarterback was trying to get on the edge a little bit, they did a nice job of keeping him hemmed in. And, I think they did their game plan. We talked about this last night when we were out for dinner, but I feel confident that on both sides of the football that the coordinators are going to give Michigan State an executable game plan that puts them in the best position to win games if that game plan is followed. And today we saw an example of that on both sides of the ball. I think the game plans were there. I think the play calling was good, defensive and offensive. And I think, players have a lot of confidence in their coordinators, and that's a good thing moving forward.
I agree. Interesting football game. Michigan State loses a great opportunity. We've been through that. Great atmosphere, great trip out here. It's going to be interesting. They'll stay together. They've got a lot of resiliency. These guys haven't been together a long time, but you can tell they get along, and they're gonna be there for Aiden Childs and so forth. And we'll have to wait and see when he takes that next step, because the team can't really take the next step until he does.
He's going to get better. There's no doubt about it. It's just
it would be nice if he had like a real powerful run game. And tonight, didn't quite. The run game was okay, but not enough. He needs more from the run game. 127 yards rushing. Missouri went for about 170 on these guys. We knew coming into the year that the offensive line was a question mark for Michigan State. They've had 2 starters go down at the offensive guard position, 4 games, 4 different offensive line units for the starters. So that's not been ideal. Nate Carter tonight rushes for 1.0 yards per carry on 9 attempts. Sometimes he was a victim of some of those blocking errors, but the run game needs to waken up. But I don't know if the material's there to make it happen.
It's the negative plays that need to be taken care of. You take away some of the negative yardage, like the -9s, like the -5s.
The -3 on that second and 1 of the 6.
You take away those negatives. Like, I don't care about the 2 yards or 3 yard gains. I'm fine with that. That happens, and then you bust out bigger runs throughout the games. But you can't have the 9-yard, 8-yard losses that take you so far off schedule, where you put a quarterback in a situation where he's always throwing for 3rd and something.
When he's down a bunch of receivers.
Yeah, but that's not really an excuse for that, because everybody was still open. It's not like
people were still open.
So I don't feel like
how good can they be if they start getting rid of this turnover thing, Paul? How good can they be?
I think they can be good. I think, like I said, this is a good football team. There's elements of the offense that are really good. The defense is borderline top 25 defense. They've got a top 10 coordinator. They got a lot of guys and a lot of depth in that front 7, and it showed tonight. Like, I thought Konyndyk Dunnigan's the guy that took a huge step tonight. Wayne Matthews did some really good things. There's a lot of guys that played good football. Jordan Turner did well. There's other guys that I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for Jalen Thompson to have one of his breakout games.
He's quietly good on 1st and 2nd down.
He is.
It's hard for him to amass a lot of sacks and so forth, because he comes off the field on 3rd down. I haven't watched him tonight closely, but when I've gone back over the other games in the first 3 games, I'm like, man, he played well, and it doesn't show up in the stat sheet.
I'm just waiting for him to go from the really solid to like that Lawrence Thomas when he was a senior type of thing. That guy, because I think there's a lot. I think that's in there, for him. And what Bogle's been really good at. Like, the linebackers are good. The defensive backs are solid in terms of like making plays and tackling in space for the most part. This is a good team. There's, like I said, there's a high care factor. There's not a lot of individuals. There's not a lot of celebrating by themselves. There's not a lot of temper tantrums. So this is a good, fun football team to watch, and I think they've got a chance to continue to be competitive, and I think they're going to compete. There's no doubt about that, and I think it's going to be a team that Michigan State fans can be proud of, because they're going to maximize the effort's always going to be there, and to me that's the litmus test. Can you bring it every single week? And I think Michigan State will. Problem is they're in a really good conference with a lot of great competition, and if you're thinking that Michigan State's going to win 10 games this year, you're disappointed. But this is a good year to establish the foundation for Jonathan Smith's program that they can build on and move forward. And I think, Smith is excited because they're way further along in the building process than he was when he took over that Oregon State program, obviously.
Yeah.
So he likes his guys. He likes their character. And I think they're going to win some football games, and it's going to be fun to watch.
One of the best plays they made on defense tonight, after the K'Ron Lynch-Adams fumble kickoff, they had the goal line stand, 3rd down, and Castellanos kind of gets scrambling around, scrambles over, and this is where they're playing good defense. They leverage it back. They don't give up the edge to let him turn the corner, and he circles back. Jordan Turner's firing through there to get the sack. That's 11 men keeping leverage, and nobody's like over pursuing and trying to play hero ball. That 11 players on defense playing with one brain, that's what you need. Yeah, you had someone fall and give up the touchdown at the end, and you had the collision that gives up the long touchdown down the sideline. But play in and play out, defeating blocks, making tackles. defense is showing some good things, and that's the ticket of consistency over the long haul. So
do your job. Don't freelance. I mean, when you freelance, you get in trouble on defense, and we saw way too much of that in the last few years.
Yes, so that part's good. Quarterback's got to come around. It'd be nice if he had a run game and healthy receivers. Tight end showed up better tonight. Had a chance to win this game. Coulda, shoulda, woulda. You know, every college football fan, unless you're a fan of, I don't know, Alabama and Georgia and the very, very best, every college football fan experiences coulda, woulda, shoulda. They all go through it. That was the name of the era back in the George Perlis days. Always close. Had a couple of good seasons, but always close and just not getting over the top. So you had to know with Aiden Childs there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be some learning situations. I was kind of thinking that maybe he would get over that tonight. It's a California kid in the cold rain. Also, that's new for him. You got to remember that in the spring game, he didn't like the cold weather that day, so he's got to get accustomed to that. He's going against a junior on the other side. He's from Georgia, so it's new to him too. So Michigan State close to really having a big win, but not good enough to get a win and not good enough to be 4-0, and that's what they should be right now.
And Castellanos didn't take bad risks.
Exactly right.
You know, he didn't.
And last year he had 15 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Last year in this game, Castellanos would have made some mistakes, but he avoided them tonight.
He threw a lot of balls away, and that's one of those discretion's a better part of valor type deals. So, you know, I expect Aiden Childs to grow.
He's dangerous, Paul. He's dangerous.
He is, and he's a fun kid to cover. He's a fun kid to watch. You like the competitive spirit, but it's just you just want to continue to see him get better, and I've got faith that he will because he's got a good coaching staff. Lindgren's a good quarterbacks coach. Jonathan Smith played the position. He knows what it's all about, and you know these guys are gonna. They knew they were. They kept on reminding us during camp. He's 18 years old. He's 18 years old. So there is a certain amount of patience that has to go into this, and I'd rather cover this game. With every possession mattering, you know, like Mac Brown is on behind me, behind the camera here. We're in ACC country, and he's talking about giving up 70 points in a 70-50 game against James Madison. You know, so that's what I don't want to see.
I'm not going to get there. All right, Paul. Appreciate it. Good job. Appreciate everybody watching us. Hey, give us a thumbs up. Give us a like to the channel. Subscribe to the channel. We'd love to have you become a Spartan Mag subscriber over at SpartanMag.com. Check that out as well. For Paul Konyndyk, my name is Jim Comparoni from Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts. You've been watching with the Spartans. You've been watching the VCast, SpartanMag.com.